Have you ever looked at real estate investors and just wondered, how do they do it? How do they seem to buy property after property without having millions of dollars stashed away? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a really powerful strategy that a lot of them use to do exactly that. It's called the BRRRR Method, and it's a system designed to help you build a real estate empire with a surprisingly small amount of cash to start.
You know, so many of us dream about the kind of financial freedom that real estate investing can offer. But let's be real, that starting line can feel impossibly far away. You're hit with a dozen different strategies, and just the thought of saving up for a massive down payment, it's enough to make you want to give up before you even start. It's a super common hurdle, but it definitely doesn't have to be a dead end.
So that's the million-dollar question, right? How do you actually break into the real estate game and start building a portfolio when you don't have a huge pile of cash just sitting around for down payments? That is the exact puzzle we are going to solve today.
But first, let's take a quick look at why real estate is such a powerhouse for building wealth in the first place. I think understanding the potential here is really key to seeing why a strategy like the BRRRR Method is so effective. The numbers, well, they tell a pretty compelling story on their own.
Okay, get this. A full 34% of Americans believe that real estate is the single best long-term investment you can possibly make. That is a huge vote of confidence, and it really speaks to how much people trust the stability and growth potential of owning property.
And you know, it's not just a feeling. The demand is absolutely real. In one recent year, the U.S. rental market grew by an average of 10.1%. Now, for an investor, a number like that is a huge green flag. It signals strong, consistent demand for rental properties, which is the foundation of any successful portfolio.
So what does that demand look like in actual dollars and cents? Well, by the end of 2021, the median rent in the 50 largest U.S. metro areas was almost $1,800 a month. That is a significant stream of potential passive income, and it's exactly what makes being a landlord so attractive.
Okay, so with that potential in mind, let's circle back to our original problem, those high entry costs. This is exactly where the BRRRR Method comes in and shines. I want you to think of it less as just another strategy and more like a systematic blueprint for building your rental portfolio from the ground up.
So, BRRRR is an acronym, and it breaks down the entire process for you. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. The key here is that it's a cycle. It's a repeatable system that's literally designed to let you use your initial investment money over and over and over again. So here's how it works. First, you buy an undervalued property, the classic fixer-upper. Then, you rehab it. This is where you actually force the appreciation by making smart improvements that jack up the property's market value. Once it's looking good, you rent it out to a great tenant, and that's when you start seeing that cash flow. Now, the most crucial step is the refinance. This is where you get a new loan based on the property's new, higher value. And finally, you repeat the whole process with that same capital you just pulled out. This is the engine that drives the entire strategy.
Look, theory is great and all, but seeing how this works in a real-world scenario is what makes it click. So let's walk through a case study to see exactly how this blueprint plays out with some actual numbers.
This example comes from an investor named Denver Lobo, who shared all the details of a BRRRR deal he did in Atlanta. It's a perfect illustration of how these 5 steps really do come together to create a pretty powerful result.
So the whole thing started with the buy phase. He found an undervalued 3-bedroom townhome and managed to buy it for just $70,000. All right, next up was the rehab phase. He put $10,000 into renovations, which brought his total cash invested up to $80,000. Now, keep that number in your head, because the whole goal is to get every single penny of that back in the next step.
And this is the pivotal moment. This is where the magic happens. After the rehab, the property was appraised for $100,000. So he did what's called a cash-out refinance for 80% of that new value, which is, you guessed it, exactly $80,000. This let him pull his entire initial investment right back out of the deal. He got all his money back.
So just think about this for a second. After getting all of his initial cash back, he still owned a cash-flowing property, essentially for free. Over the next few years, he collected rent, and then he eventually sold it. But because his initial investment was effectively zero after that refinance, the total return on his money was a staggering 2,684%. It's just wild.
Now, beyond just recycling your capital, there is another often overlooked benefit of the BRRRR Method that really acts as a serious wealth accelerator, and that is its incredible tax efficiency.
This is a true game changer, especially when you compare it to other strategies like flipping houses.
Just look at this comparison. When you flip a house, your profit gets taxed as regular income, which can be a huge, huge hit. But with a cash-out refinance in the BRRRR method, the money you pull out is considered a loan, not income. It's debt, so it's not taxable. So that $100,000 plus profit from a flip might get chopped in half by taxes, but with BRRRR, you get to keep and reinvest the entire amount. That is a massive advantage. Okay, now, the formula sounds absolutely perfect on paper, I get it. But we have to be realistic here. This is not some magical, risk-free path to getting rich. The BRRRR method is incredibly powerful, yes, but it comes with some very real risks that can completely derail the process if you're not prepared.
So, what can go wrong? Well, honestly, a lot. Your rehab could blow the budget, or drag on for months longer than you planned. The property might appraise for less than you needed to, which is a major, major problem for that refinance step. You could even have trouble qualifying for the new loan. And of course, there's always the risk of struggling to find good tenants, which leaves you with an empty property and a mortgage payment coming due.
This is why success with BRRRR isn't just about knowing the steps, it's about mastering the execution. It demands careful analysis of every deal, an accurate budget with a healthy cushion for surprises, and building a great team of contractors and lenders. And, crucially, you absolutely have to have backup plans in case one part of the process doesn't go the way you expect.
So let's end on this thought. The BRRRR method provides a clear, repeatable formula for building wealth in real estate. The formula itself is proven. The real question is, do you have the diligence, the planning, and the resilience to execute it successfully? That's the ultimate takeaway, and that's the real challenge for any aspiring investor.